Yo, welcome to another MMA Grind, UFC 309, Madison Square Garden, GOAT versus GOAT. We got the UFC GOAT against the heavyweight GOAT of the UFC, Stipe Miocic versus Jon Jones for Jon Jones heavyweight championship belt. Long time in the making, long time coming. The fight's finally here, and we're at fight week. And in the co-main, we got Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler, number 2 against number 7. And Michael Chandler, the wait is over. He stopped waiting for Conor. He stepped up, and now he has his rematch with Charles Oliveira in what should be an explosive matchup, which we already know both of those guys bring it. Both of the guys have a crazy pace and go all out. And in the co-main, the feature bout, we got Bo Nickal with his biggest test against Paul Craig in a middleweight bout. Paul Craig came down from light heavyweight to middleweight, so that'll be Bo Nickal's toughest test to date on that. And then that'll bring us to the tail of the tape for the main event, which is Jon Jones versus Stipe. As I said, they're both Jon Jones, 37 years old, Stipe, 42, hasn't fought in 3.5 years. Jon Jones himself hasn't fought in a year and a half, and this is basically, it could be a retirement fight for either guy, but for sure Jon Jones, he left the door open, as we heard earlier the news, or he's been saying in interviews recently that he wants to fight Alex Pereira instead of Tom Aspinall, but he has to get past Stipe first. And so they're both Jon Jones, 37, he's 6. They have a list at 6'3". I think he's more like 6'4"-ish. Same thing with Stipe, 6'4". They have Jon Jones listed at 248. He came in pretty heavy in his last fight against Cyril Gane, in my opinion. I think he's going to come. He's planning on coming a little lighter in this fight. Stipe about 240. He's always been kind of the mid-range, lighter side of the heavyweights, 235 to 245-ish. I still thought he was a little too light against Francis Ngannou. Looked a little sucked, a little drawn, in my opinion. And Jon Jones, 84.5-inch reach, that legendary long reach of Jon Jones. But also Stipe has an 80-inch reach himself. So this is going to be definitely not such a huge reach advantage that Jon Jones is used to having, and especially not as big of a weight advantage either, or just period, just being a bigger guy, So Stipe is a natural heavyweight going against Jon Jones, and we'll get to that in the breakdown a little later. But that'll bring us to the tail of the tape for Charles Oliveira against Michael Chandler, who is Charles Oliveira, 35 years old, Michael Chandler, 38. He's wasted 2 years waiting for Conor McGregor. That fight never came to happen. Who knows, it still might happen in the future, but basically, he looks jacked. So obviously Chandler's been training. He's been training for Conor this whole time, but now he's going to fight Oliveira in a rematch, which, like the first fight, was a barn burner. It was an insane pace, only went a little into the second round, and Charles Oliveira was able to get the TKO finish. But Michael Chandler came out as a madman, and we'll talk about that later too when we break it down. Charles Oliveira, 5'8", Chandler listed at 5'7", so he's basically a little short wrecking ball type of fighter, stature, thick. They're going to both be weighing in at championship weight at 155 pounds. The reach advantage will go to Charles. Do Bronx, 74 inches to 71.5 inches for Michael Chandler. So that'll be one advantage that he will have in that fight, Oliveira. And we've seen this fight before, so we know what both of these guys bring, and both of these guys are killers in the octagon. So especially under the big lights. And that'll bring us to the third fight, or basically the co-main, Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. Paul Craig has a crazy amount of experience, mostly at light heavyweight. He's lost 4 of his last 5, though, and now he is going to be Bo Nickal's toughest test. Bo Nickal, 28 years old. He's 6-0, so, he hasn't lost. He hasn't even – I think he's finished every single opponent already, all finishes, so he's basically been doing his thing in an impressive fashion. Paul Craig, 36 years old, getting a little bit up there, but he will have a little bit of a height advantage at 6'2" for Paul Craig, 6'1" for Bo Nickal. They both be weighing around 185, 186-ish. So who knows? They could have that extra pound because it's not a title fight. And both of them share a 76-inch reach advantage. So not much of an advantage there. And that's another fight that's pretty interesting. We'll see what happens with that. Okay, we had John Jones. Obviously, we know John Jones is a legend. We know all his attributes. We know all his skill set. And the keys of victory for John Jones, I believe, is to use his range. He's got to use that. He's got to use that 84.5-inch reach, his long legs, and just basically, he's even longer when he puts those fingers out. We all know about John Jones' eye pokes. He's also legendary for that. So I mean, that makes him even taller. He's got an 84.5-inch reach, but then you add those, coming at you, and he's kind of jabbing with it almost. Stipe's gonna have to watch out for that. And John Jones, he's gonna have to be what he does normally. He's gonna have to mix up his strikes. We're talking about his teeps, his oblique kicks, his little range finders, his step in elbows, those body kicks. Those teeps to the body, and those are really effective against a lot of guys that are going to try and pressure him. Left hooks, elbows on the inside, and also just be a lot of movement. He's going to have to be on. I don't say he's going to have to be on his horse, but I figure like Stipe will not want to be in the center of the cage with John Jones. He's going to want to pressure him and put him up against the cage more. So John's just going to have to use his movement and try to pick Stipe apart and pick, and not get pressured back against the cage, because then the height and the reach and all that doesn't really matter as much. So he's going to have to keep his movement going and stay fluid with it, and level change once in a while. Just make Stipe think like he's gonna, that he can't take him down. And he was saying he was excited the 12-6 elbow, the new rule in the UFC, 12-6 elbows are back. So that's John Jones' only blemish on his record, which I believe got overturned or is going to be overturned. He's 27-1, so that was against Matt Hamill. And that just shows how ferocious John Jones is. 12-6 and a deaf guy. I'm just kidding, but yeah. So he landed those elbows on Matt Hamill, got disqualified, got DQ'd. So other than that, he has his records unblemished. Dominic Reyes, obviously, that was a very close fight. Most people thought Dominic Reyes won that fight, but that's neither here or there. We're here at the heavyweight now for the heavyweight goatness. And so, yeah, I think level change, use some ground and pound if he does get Stipe down. Show him that, just give him something else to think about, because John Jones, we all know he has so many weapons. And that's just another one he's got to make Stipe at least wary of. And last is just to be Bones Jones, just be that dog, be that guy who 12-6 elbow to a deaf guy, just in there and crazy and don't give a shit and just dig deep. Be the guy who was losing to Gustafsson, in the last 2 rounds, came back and just freaking like a savage mode and ended up destroying Gustafsson. And Mai still got that win, just when he dug deep when he needed to. Dug deep against a lot of fighters, like that he has been pretty dominant, not as much in recent years, his recent fights, even though he hasn't fought a lot, he's only fought like 4.5, in the last 4.5 years, he only fought 2 times, but he still has that dog in him where he is just mean, and he is Bones Jones, and he will do whatever it takes to win. Savage. He had his freaking toe against, pointed up straight in the air and freaking still won that fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, he almost lost that fight. If that would have won another round, he might have been done, but he got the fight finished. And I mean, I always say there's no one as crazy and gangster and doggish as Bones Jones. So, I mean, that's his keys to victory in this fight, to retain his belt against a lot of people are sleeping on Stipe, you know what I mean? And I think that could be a huge mistake for John Jones or anyone else, because like the keys to victory for Stipe, as I mentioned before, is just pressure. He's going to want to be in Jones' face. He's going to have to pressure him back, try to mitigate or just, take away that length and that movement of John Jones. I mean, he's not much of a leg kicker or anything like that. He's more of a boxer. Just be physical, be physical with him. When they are in there, in the clinch, just kind of rough him up a little bit, make it an ugly fight, because Stipe does have a good gas tank. He basically ground and pounded Francis Ngannou in their first fight. He's been in some wars with JDS. I mean, he's been in a lot of wars. He's not the heavyweight GOAT for no reason. Like he could have anyone. We've seen what like Francis Ngannou did to Kane. Even just barely touched Kane and knocked him out. So I mean, there's nothing. Stipe is very dangerous. He's beat Cormier 2 times, 2 out of 3 times. And like I said, along with being physical, dirty boxing, use that when you're inside on that clinch. hit Jones to the body. You never really see too many people hitting John Jones to the body. And I think that's one of the things that we'll get to, like with the fight IQ, is that where John Jones was able to adapt and adjust in those Daniel Cormier fights when he was actually losing. I think it was the second fight, and then and even maybe the third, but he was able to dig deep and make adjustments during the fight. You could train all you want, but he actually made these adjustments to see that, okay, DC is open to the body, and he don't like. And also John Jones, maybe he'd take a page out of John Jones' book when he fought DC. DC, he was kicking DC to the body because DC was trying to pressure him so much. So if he started landing to the body, and that's ultimately kind of, I think, got him the victory against DC. So he went out there and did what he had to do. Yeah, so utilize that dirty boxing, get in there, make it ugly, land some body shots to John Jones, and also wrestle. He's going to have to try and wrestle John Jones. The only one who actually tried to wrestle John Jones was like DC when they fought. I think he might have got one takedown, but didn't really. John Jones got, back to his feet right away. And I don't think that's like such a great game plan to try and just wrestle with John Jones. But with Stipe Miocic, he is a Division I wrestler. He's got great boxing. That's what he's kind of known for: wrestling, boxing, Golden Gloves. But use that fight IQ like that. Like I talked about before with him and DC. Like he was able to just pick apart DC once he seen that he had a guy hurt. He was able to. He seen DC was hurt. He finished him. He finished him to the body. He kept ripping to the body, finished up top. And like I said, the thing with Stipe you can't underestimate is he has a lot of power. If there's a number 6 on here, he has a lot of power. He's knocked out so many guys. Fabricio Verdum going backwards. So if John Jones tried to pressure Stipe, try to put him on the back foot, Stipe is still dangerous, and he has a lot of power. So I think he has an 80-inch reach advantage, not advantage, but he has an 80-inch reach, which could get in close. And if it gets in that boxing range, John Jones, he hasn't been hit by a heavyweight yet, other DC, but we're talking DC at 205. Why not? And DC was never known to be that one punch type puncher. He has knocked people out. He's knocked Stipe out, but he hasn't really. Stipe has knocked out heavyweights, and so he definitely has that power. So I think just overall, he's got to be just overall MMA fighter, but use his boxing, his physicality. He's going to be he's the natural heavyweight there. John Jones is very tall, but he was a 205 for a long time. Put on a lot of weight for that Cyril Gane fight. He looks a lot lighter and leaner in this fight, and I think Stipe is gonna. He's had all these years. Since Francis Ngannou lost, basically, because they were talking about this fight for so long. So he's had a lot of time to prepare for John Jones and try to solve that puzzle that nobody has been able to yet. But that being said, don't count out Stipe. He has that game-changing power, and this fight can go either way. Yeah, that'll bring us to Michael Chandler's key to victory against Charles Oliveira, part 2. So first fight we all know was a barn burner, a crazy pace. So I would say his key to victory is basically pace himself. He's got to go out there and pace himself. He can't go out there and do what he normally does, go out there and blow his wad in the first round. Like he did against Justin Gaethje, like he did in the first Charles Oliveira fight. He almost killed Charles Oliveira in that first fight. The first round was guns blazing, balls to the wall. Literally empty the gas tank, and really it was probably a 10-8 round, if not a 10-7, because he had Oliveira in all kinds of trouble in that fight, dropped him. Oliveira did have his back. That was a fight where he just jumped up and landed on his back on Oliveira, and he was ground and pounding him, almost finished Oliveira at the end of the first round. But he's got to play, like he's got to have that smart aggression, like come out. Yeah, you want to have that intensity and you want to have that explosiveness, but you don't want to be dumb about it. You don't want to go out there and just empty the tank and get tired against someone like Oliveira, because that's kind of what happened in the first fight. Like he didn't gas so much because he kind of got rocked right away in the second round, but his hands were low, and he was not pressing as much as he did in that first round. First round, he was coming in guns blazing. Like I said, he was taking some breaths, and Oliveira capitalized and caught him with that short left hook that dropped him. And then after that, Oliveira jumped on him, and it was a TKO. So I also say Chandler needs to mix it up, level change, get in there, make it, like I said, kind of like with Stipe, make it ugly. Obviously, Charles Oliveira is very dangerous off his back. Chandler has only been tapped one time. against DP, so he has very good submission defense. But I'm saying, like, if he's a hammer, usually he's doing well. He's a Missouri wrestler, All-American. He's a great wrestler as well and has good jiu-jitsu himself, but he just needs a level change, mix it up, make Oliveira work and think about it, and also work the body. If anything we've seen with Charles Oliveira, even back when he was a featherweight, he's had issues with body punches and body strikes, and he doesn't like that. And I think if Michael Chandler can tighten up his boxing, and when they do get on the inside, watch out for knees himself, but also come in there and just land some devastating body blows, and that could definitely change the pace of this fight and really put Charles Oliveira on the back foot. And like I said, Charles Oliveira doesn't have the best chin, but he also is very dangerous at all times. Both these guys are extremely dangerous the whole time they're in the fight, so that's going to be one thing to look out for when these guys touch them up and go, because they're both freaking crazy pace, crazy dangerous. And, that brings us to Charles do Bronx Oliveira, former lightweight champ, amazing fighter, dangerous everywhere, as we just said. Dangerous off his back, on top, on the feet, dropped Justin Gaethje, rocked Dustin Poirier. I mean, submission game is unbelievable. And he's going to have to come out and match that first round pace, because everybody knows, like, Michael Chandler is like Vitor back in the day. He's like the best first round fighter out there. He's the most dangerous guy out there. He's crazy. He's going to bring that insane pace, but Oliveira is also that crazy guy too. So with the crazy pace, and just come straight forward with that high guard and the Muay Thai low knees, like he's constantly feinting those knees. And he's definitely have to bring some head movement, and he has got his eyes fixed. So I think that's supposed to help his defense somewhat. We're hoping, because I want to see a little bit more head movement, so he's just not coming in straight forward and getting cracked, because he has been hurt in a lot of fights. He got hurt in that first fight. He got hurt against Islam, DP. I mean, pretty much every fight almost he gets hurt. He gets rocked on the feet. And he always, most of the time he does weather the storm and come back, because he is so dangerous and in great shape. Both these guys are in amazing shape, but I think he just got to show. You don't want to get hit by too much from Michael Chandler, because that guy, everything he throws is heat, kicks. We've seen what he did, Tony Ferguson. I mean, we've seen he has amazing punching power, just his explosiveness. So Charles Oliveira is definitely going to have to, like I said, match that pace, use a lot of defensive head movement, and use his knees like the way he knees and kicks, especially the knees on the inside. When we're in that clinch, throw some knees, even maybe zap try to zap Chandler's gas tank and hit him to the body if you can, and use the kicks to keep that range, just to keep Chandler off you, because Chandler is going to come out crazy. We'll see if he calmed down a little or not, but once those cage doors close, I think we're going to see the same barn burner type Chandler Oliveira fight that we did the first time. I don't think Chandler knows any other way than just to bring it all or nothing type of fighter, and both these guys are the same way, all or nothing. They're going for the killer instinct. They both have killer instinct. Both of these guys both go for the kill. Charles Oliveira, he's dangerous everywhere, as I said. Submission game, knockout game, submissions from everywhere. He's got, triangles, arm bars. I mean, he transitions from positions really well to submissions, like just flows real well to jiu-jitsu game, and always looking for the finish. These guys hardly ever go the distance, because they both have that killer instinct, and I think Oliveira needs to use that in this fight for sure. If he sees an opportunity to jump on Chandler and get the finish, he's got to do that, because you don't want Chandler's dangerous the whole time he's in there, so you really don't want to. You're just playing with fire, if you let him get back in the fight. And that'll bring us to Bo Nickal and his key of victory against his toughest match to date, or at least biggest name, with Paul Craig. And first is just wrestle. Do what you do. Don't try to change it up too much. Don't get too crazy with it. Be cautious with the striking, because we kind of seen that hole in his game in his last fight when he was actually going against a guy who had some wrestling, so he wasn't able to get the takedowns immediately like he wanted to. And he was forced to stand up, and he ate some shots. And it shows that he is tough and all that, but you don't want to see him get too desperate, especially on the feet. If he can't get the takedown right away, which I'm not sure that will be too much of a factor here, because everyone knows Paul Craig likes to just be off his back and throwing up submissions and all that. So Bo Nickal, it's only a matter of time before he gets his takedown. but he's going to have to sure up and really be on his jiu-jitsu defense, because Paul Craig is going to be throwing up submissions. He's going to be triangles, arm bars, whatever he can do from the bottom especially. So like I said, just be cautious with the striking. He's going to have to close that distance, obviously. So just be cautious until he gets there. And once he gets there, once he's on top, get in an advantageous position. Don't just like sit in Paul Craig's guard and let those long legs and do all this crazy stuff, just try to pass guard and dominate. Go out there and just, put this guy another notch on your freaking whipping board, or whatever you want to call it, on your bat, your just another name under your belt, just from going out there and just dominate this guy and do it in professional and impressive fashion. That's where you could get a ranked guy next time. Neither one of these guys are ranked right now, but Paul Craig, like I said, he's usually a light heavyweight, so he's going to be even more depleted maybe at this weight, which could mean that Bo Nickal, this is more his comfortable weight. He should be a little stronger here. And but he, he's not too much smaller, so pretty much they're both pretty big guys. So for a middleweight, but if Bo Nickal go out there and do what he does, go for the kill when he has Paul Craig hurt, don't just sit there and try to do a jiu-jitsu match with this guy or a wrestling match. Let's see some ground and pound. We haven't really seen a whole lot of that, but if he gets down to Paul Craig on the ground, or when he gets Paul Craig to the ground, go out there and just dominate and just destroy. We want to see some 12 to 6 elbows now that's legal again. We want to see some ground and pound, some viciousness out of Bo Nickal. Make a statement here. Make a statement, because, everyone wants to see Khamzat versus Bo Nickal. He needs to go out there and make a huge statement if he wants to close the distance a little bit for Khamzat. Khamzat's already kind of on a title run. He might either be next or next. So I'm thinking, go out there and make a statement, get a ranked guy next time, and just keep climbing. That's what he needs to do out there. And, that's it. So, like Paul, and that brings us to Paul Craig, and what he needs to do, his keys of victory is, I think, just open up on the feet. Like that was, like I said before, it was kind of, I won't say it was a hole in Bo Nickal, but obviously he's a little bit more green when it comes to striking. He's a wrestler. He's a 3-time national champion, only lost 3 times in college. So, he almost did all 4 years as a national champion, has some Olympic experience as well, as far as international experience. So, he's basically wrestled his whole life. So, open up on the feet a little. Bo Nickal has shown some power. He does have some power there, and a lot of wrestlers do, because they have that fast twitch. They could jump in with power. But I'm saying Paul Craig, just take some chances, because obviously you don't mind being on the ground. That's where your bread and butter is, off your back. I put takedown defense as a key. Obviously he's going to get taken down, and he welcomes that. But, if you can make Bo Nickal work as much as you possibly can, even just to get a takedown, then that could play in your favor, especially if you get in a good position where you can start throwing up submissions. You could throw up triangles. If you get them in your guard, at least, use your defense to at least get to a good position where you're used to working your bread and butter game, and make Bo work, make him just work in there, like try to drown him with those long legs and submission attempts, and don't let Bo pass and just run through your guard. Be unpredictable with it. Don't just go out there and lay on your back. Don't go and pull guard. Like, everyone knows you want to be on your back. Like I said, mix it up on the feet. Try to get Bo to think about it, whatever, maybe even take a shot. Obviously, if it's not going to work, but I think try to, just be unpredictable. Don't, just change things up and mix it up, and just survive. Try to survive as long as you can, because you never know what happens when you go to the judges, and if you're throwing up submissions. My prediction, I don't think this is going more than 2 rounds, but at the same time, it's like, if it does go 3 rounds, we've seen crazy decisions, especially lately. So if you could be out there and throwing up submissions and making Bo work, then you never know what the judges are looking at or what they're scoring. So basically survive. This is a survival fight for Paul Craig, because this guy is just going to be on another level, for sure. We were talking Bo Nickal as far as the grappling game, so you don't want to tie up too much with him, So yeah, that's bringing me to my predictions. Obviously, like, Stipe has a hell of a chance. John Jones is they're both GOATs of the sport, legends. I'm going to go with John Jones. I mean, I think it's going to be he's going to try to point his way to a decision. I don't think he finishes Stipe. He don't really have the biggest punch and the power. You know, his kicks are pretty good, pretty nasty. But I don't see Stipe just walking into a kick, and Stipe's not that easy to finish either way. So I mean, he's going to have to outpoint Stipe and use that range, the eye pokes, whatever, use those legs, and I think he gets it done that way. You know, only because Stipe has been you know, has been gone for a while, hasn't fought for a while. I mean, obviously he's been training in great shape, and he has great power in both hands, even going backwards, forwards, whatever, and good wrestling. So the wrestling could cancel out. Who knows? I mean, but don't count Stipe out because I know he's 42 years old now, and everyone thinks he's done. But I mean, he's definitely the last thing to go is power, and he definitely has power, and he is a heavyweight go for a reason. He's beat some legends himself, so it's an interesting fight to see what happens and what's next after that. But yeah, as far as Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira, I think the first fight was going Chandler's way. Like it was either a 10-8 or 10-7 round. That first round of their first fight, Chandler was all over him, had him in all kinds of trouble. And typical Do Bronx fashion, he was able to weather the storm and get, you know, basically survive that round and then catch Chandler slipping with that short left hook, and then just finished him up against the cage. So I'm going to go with Michael Chandler. He looks hungry. I know he's got to be pissed off, been waiting for Conor for 2 years. When that fight just fell through, you know, Conor, who knows if he is coming back, if or when. But I think he's going to go out there, and he has a clear game plan right now. He wants to get this fight. He's ranked 7th, but Do Bronx is right there, number 2. So Chandler could get this win, get maybe another win, you know, and see what's up from there. You know, maybe he'll fight DP or Justin again, or, you know, maybe he'll be next in line if it's an impressive finish against Charles Oliveira. He hasn't fought Islam yet, or Arman Sarukian. So whoever wins that fight, whenever that happens. But yeah, I think for sure, I think this is going to be Chandler's fight. I think he's going to get it done early by the second round. I just think we might not, you know, I think a lot of these wars that Do Bronx has been in, maybe it's finally caught up to him. I mean, he didn't get finished against Arman Sarukian, but it didn't look that great. I mean, he was doing okay, you know, like in that fight, but it was clear winner, you know, that clear loss, I should say, for Charles. He gets rocked in almost every fight. Islam rocked him before he tapped him. And just the explosiveness and that craziness that Michael Chandler, unless he could pull that left hook out of his hat again, or a knee or something coming up the middle, I just think Chandler's going to, I'm not saying run through him or anything like that. I think he's just going to overwhelm him with his pressure and his pace and land something big and hurt him. Maybe, like I said, maybe go to the body and take out Charles Oliveira, which, you know, obviously he's a fan favorite. Both these guys are fan favorites. You can't not like either one of these guys. Both these guys are must-see TV, always amazing, freaking in amazing fights. So no matter who they're fighting, you know, so they both have the same mentality to go in there for the kill and whatever it takes, you know, defense out the windows sometimes and just throw caution to the wind. And I just think Michael Chandler is just a little bit more explosive. He's had a lot of time off because he's been waiting for Conor. So even though he's been rocked a lot himself, you know, but he's had a lot of time to recover, and just he looks freaking jacked. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see how the weight cut is too for these guys. You know, but I think they were saying Oliveira there was rumors that he might pull out because of an injury or something. But we're in fight week right now. The fight looks like it's on, and I'm gonna go Michael Chandler with like a second round TKO type finish, maybe a ground and pound. You know, maybe if that second round he didn't get caught in their first fight, he does that, because that first round, like, Oliveira was pretty much lucky just to get out of that round with that storm that Michael Chandler brings. So yeah, definitely a lot of pressure in that fight because it could be next in line. Like I said, this could be a freaking catapult for Chandler to get in there and just, you know, rattle some shit up. He's already fought a lot of guys. You know, he's basically like a 500 fighter, even less, because he's lost, but he's fought everybody except for like Islam, except for the couple guys that are at the top right now. So yeah, I definitely think he's hungry. Wants either that Conor fight. Either way, these guys don't lose or win. They don't lose much when they lose because they're such freaking fantastic fighters and amazing to watch. And we're lucky. This is a fan treat. This got to be fight. This got fight of the night written all over it. And yeah, that would bring me to Bo Nickel and Paul Craig. Obviously, I'm going with Bo Nickel first or second round by devastation, you know, domination. I think Paul Craig's lost 4 of his last 5. I think the weight cut might be a little too much for us, extra 20 pounds. I mean, he wasn't the biggest light heavyweight at 6'2", But I mean, that's still a lot of weight, and the fact that he is just so comfortable just being taken down and being on his back. If he had some striking, more of a striking threat, then I could think that maybe I wouldn't say I lean his way, but I think it give him a little bit more of a chance to win this fight because Bo Nickel is still green with with his striking, But that being said, I mean, it's only a matter of time for Bo Nickel. It takes almost pretty much anyone down. He probably takes Khamzat down, but I don't know if he holds Khamzat down because Khamzat is a freaking beast himself, grappler, and he's just little levels ahead right now, obviously everywhere, just in the game of fighting of MMA. So yeah, I got Bo Nickel probably by second round. I'm saying TKO. I think he's going to bring a new wrinkle, just ground and pound. I don't think he's going to tap Paul Craig. I mean, he's definitely going to be a stronger man in there, even though Paul Craig's coming down a weight. I think he'll be a little depleted. I don't think Craig is going to have too much submission opportunities. I think Bo Nickel will get to a good position, get past the legs, and probably just put a beating on him on the ground. That's my pick. Yeah, I got Bo Nickel all the way, all day. And yeah, that's it. Those are my picks. And like, subscribe, and that's all I got.